June 28, 1914. Flees into exile. Monarchy, once the natural order of the world, is suddenly dead. But this is only the beginning. Between 1914 and 1918, 4 global empires fall. The British aristocracy loses nearly 20% of its heirs in the trenches. The borders of 14 new countries are drawn almost overnight. Communism rises from revolution. Fascism takes shape from fear and resentment. Modern democracy struggles into existence. A single gunshot in Sarajevo assassination. 4 years later, 4 empires no longer exist. The Russian Tsar and his entire family are executed in a basement, their dynasty erased in a single night. The Ottoman Empire, 600 years old, collapses into fragments. Austria-Hungary shatters into 7 separate nations. The German Kaiser. Then comes 1939, and between 1939 and 1945, none of that happens again. Because World War II is not a clean break from the past. It is fought using the systems World War I created. The ideologies it unleashed, the borders it drew, the nation-states it forced into being. World War I was the earthquake, World War II was the aftershock. This is how the modern world was born. If you're interested in history that explores how societies transform, not just battles and generals, subscribe now. To understand why the 20th century burned the way it did, we need to step back. We need to see what the world looked like before 1914. Europe was ruled not by nations but by empires. Power was inherited, not elected. Monarchy was assumed to be permanent. The Russian Empire stood after 304 years of Romanov rule. The Tsar controlled nearly 1/6 of the Earth's land surface. Over 125 million subjects lived under absolute autocracy. The Ottoman Empire, founded in 1299, had ruled the Middle East and North Africa for 6 centuries without interruption. The Austro-Hungarian and German empires, the Habsburgs and the Hohenzollerns, were ancient dynasties governing millions across Central Europe, and above them all stood the British Empire, a quarter of the planet's land. Over 412 million subjects, an empire on which the sun never set. France followed close behind, the world's second-largest colonial empire. Kings ruled by divine right. Aristocracy was considered the natural ruling class. Empires were not an exception, they were the standard. The British Empire was a vast global system of territories under the sovereignty or influence of the United Kingdom from the late 16th to the mid-20th century. At its height, it was the largest empire in history, spanning continents and profoundly shaping world trade, politics, and culture. Key facts. Peak period, late 19th, early 20th centuries. Maximum extent, over 13 million square miles, about a quarter of Earth's land. Population governed, roughly 400 to 500 million people, circa 1913. Colonial independence wave. Post-1945, especially 1947 to 1980. Last major transfer, 1997 handover of Hong Kong origins and expansion. Britain's imperial expansion began with overseas exploration and colonization during the Elizabethan era, followed by the growth of trading companies such as the British East India Company. Maritime supremacy, industrial power, and commercial interests enabled Britain to acquire colonies in the Americas, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. After the loss of the 13 colonies, imperial focus shifted toward Asia and Africa. Governance and structure. The empire included settler colonies, protectorates, dominions, and territories under indirect rule. By the 20th century, self-governing dominions like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand exercised autonomy within the British Commonwealth framework, while other colonies remained under direct control from London. Cultural and economic impact. The empire spread the English language, common law, and parliamentary institutions worldwide, and facilitated global trade networks connecting raw materials and markets. However, it also imposed exploitative economic systems, contributed to forced labor and slavery, and disrupted indigenous societies. Decline and legacy. After World War II, decolonization accelerated amid rising nationalist movements and changing international norms. Many former colonies joined the Commonwealth of Nations. The empire's legacy endures in linguistic, legal, and political systems, as well as in ongoing debates over historical accountability and post-colonial identity.